Awesome. It looks like we're live. Cool. Welcome back to the Evolve podcast. You know that on the Evolve podcast, we're talking about improving the world mainly through problem solving, right? Because that's what improves the world. But I'll tell you what, a little bit of a backstory for how I kind of came up with Evolve and why I decided to do that is because for some time I have, dabbled in the magic that makes the universe work. Why do things function? Why is it that right now you can hear me when I'm speaking in this microphone in some other part of the world? It seems magical, but we know it's just science and technology applied, right? But is there still some components to the universe that are magic? Now I have with me someone today who, when I saw his website, I got really intrigued because he's saying he helps corporate offices solve problems through magic tricks. So I'm super excited to hear more and find out what exactly it is that you do, Greg. Please welcome Greg Holroyd. Tell us, what do you do with magic tricks and how does it relate to problem solving, especially in the workplace and in the office?
Hey, Oliver, first off, huge thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm super excited about this today. So basically with what I do, I got into this a bit of a different way. So I started my first business, GH Magic, as a professional magician, mind reader, hypnotist, and a gentleman pickpocket. I'm a gentleman thief. Everyone gets their stuff back. It's all for entertainment, you see. But as I was performing, and especially when I was during the homeless period, I started busking in the bars, nightclubs. And if you can busk in the bars and nightclubs, particularly in the UK, we're a very cynical audience over here. You have to learn to engage and interact with different types of people, learn different personalities, look out for certain behaviors, whether you want to perform for those people, whether you don't want to perform for them. It's the exact same with business, really. It's, when it comes to prospecting, choosing whether you want to work with this person or whether this could be a good fit, or whether realistically you should be referring this person because your services aren't actually going to benefit them. That's the time when really you should be referring them to one of your buddies who can actually help them, rather than just trying to instantly get that sale. So in terms of with magic and problem solving, like the key thing I love about magic when it comes to business is it's the confidence when it comes to interacting and speaking with people, whether that be in a one-to-one situation, one-to-many, in a live audience, on stage, or whether it's just going live like this. Like at the start of the pandemic, that some people freaked out over jumping on a Zoom call and speaking on a video conference because it was different, right? And since the months have gone on, people have adapted. A lot of us have suddenly got used to this. So for me, with what I do, when I was performing, later on, I started spending silly amounts of money, probably ranging in the thousands of pounds, on anything that would help my mind reading look like the real deal. I'll let you and your audience know right now, most of the things that you'll see me perform at live events when it comes to mind reading is complete BS. There's probably some sneaky sleight of hand going on in there. I'm paid to look like the real deal, right? But there was a couple of these courses that really piqued my interest, and it was the personality and behavior profiling, the real life mind reading I call, particularly from Paul Gutteridge and the Power Academy. And there's another gentleman that I've stumbled on quite recently called Chase Hughes. And as soon as you start, I was looking at these at the time specifically just to be like, oh yeah, magic boy, I want to read your mind, right? And then as soon as I started taking the courses, it completely changed my thinking. It was like, it wasn't about what I could do, it was about what we could do when it comes to performances. And that as soon as you start thinking like that, you don't have to worry about people who are against the idea of performing magic. I dare say you said you dabbled a little bit in magic yourself. You've probably met those people who are just like, nope, do not want to do magic. Or even when it comes to hypnosis or mind reading, I know you did a podcast recently with a hypnotist and there was some very interesting feedback there, and that literally just came from the back because of the negative attachments that's attached to the word hypnosis, because it's so misunderstood. It's why when it comes to performances, I very rarely say the word. I prefer the word reality bending. There's no negative attachment to it. It's basically what I'm actually doing. And if there's any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. So it means the engagement's more than likely going to be positive. If I was going there and be like, oh yeah, I'm Mr. Hypnotist, I can stick your fingers together and make you dance around like a chicken or whatever,
Yeah, that spot on. A lot of stuff you're touching on there. I mean, just the general conception of what people think when they hear magic, right? And if we're talking magic, magic is all about doing magic spells, right? And saying words like the magic words, abracadabra, and they do something. And ironically, in business, right, we have people who are copywriters who promise that they can come up with just the right magic words that make somebody buy, or you know, salespeople, all of that. And so there is some overlap too. And you know, like I said, the way I explore that is just curiosity. I want to find out. I want to know. It's like the scientific approach, right? I want to be able to see it, explain it, understand it. And I do enjoy also in just like a magic show, right? Which I don't think it's necessarily that controversial. I mean, maybe for some people, but I'm used to watching like an entertainment magic show. Like there's an entertainer who saws a woman in half or something. And we know there's some trick going on, right? We know Exactly. It can't be real. But it's like the fascinating thing is, well, how does it work? How did they make that happen, right? And just like as a former filmmaker, there's a term we also use. It's called movie magic, where in movies we kind of create some type of illusion and we take the audience on a journey that's just a entertaining experience. But you know, we know that behind the set there's all kinds of stuff going on, or we add visual effects, who knows what, right? Exactly. And so all of that stuff, yeah, I think sometimes, of course, it's lame when you kind of explain it too much, but in terms of life in general, I think there's some things that maybe we should still be able to explain that we're not yet able to explain, that would just have an immense benefit to us if we could explain that a little better. And if it weren't just some spooky magic that only a few people know how to do, or that, you know, even scares some people away. I got a little drifted off here. I look forward to hearing your take on that.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I love the, you know, going in there with curiosity. That's because that's what magic's all about. You know, I mean, you could go even deeper with the definition of magic, really. I mean, I kind of look at magic as either an experience or a feeling. You know, you hear, you know, ladies who are mothers explain their first child being born as a magical experience. But there's no like sleight of hand or card tricks going on there. It's, you know, it's completely unrelated, right? So I always try and, you know, go through the journey, the experience, and try and make that as magical as possible. A lot of magicians or performers, they kind of get stuck in the idea of, you know, the end effect. You know, a very simple example would be, you know, if I was doing some jewelry magic right now, the end effect would be that this ring goes from one finger to the other. You know, looks very magical, right? But if we make it really good, it's the journey that makes this interesting. You know, it's like you remember that old trick with the pencil, and you take the end of it and you try and shake it. It kind of looks like it bends or wobbles. Yeah, we both know this doesn't really happen, right? This is the same kind of thing. Hopefully, it won't suck quite as much. So if we leave the ring on the forefinger, we give it like a little shake. Kind of looks like it goes to the middle. Doesn't really happen. If it did happen, you'd see the third finger, right? We'll slow it down. If we take the ring off and we show it all sides and we put it back on. Now I know what you and some of the people who are watching this might be thinking is like, you kind of cheated, Magic Boy. You covered the fingers. I didn't really see it go through the finger. Now, if you guys are able to see that go through the finger, you'll be able to see the exact moment it goes through the finger, right? So, and you can see the difference in reaction right there, because there's a story behind it. There's only really two things that makes good magic, and that is trick selection. You know, because we're in a virtual platform right now, I'm not going to get a deck of cards out and be like, Oliver, pick a card. There's a big problem with that. Your hand doesn't go through the screen, right? So if I make it visual and do something like, you know, with jewelry, you know, it's super visual. I don't have to explain anything. But if I just sat there and did this, it's not that impressive, really. But as soon as there's a story and there's something that leads into that, you know, the thing with the pencil, the optical illusions, and now I'm also doing another sneaky thing, bending your reality, messing with your perceptions, because now there was a moment where you was questioning, because I did it the first time without the scripts, and it was like, wait a minute, the first time it actually moved. And then it was like, when the second one, it didn't actually happen. Wait, it was actually on the second finger. If you did see it go, it's the third one. And then you're kind of piecing it all together, and the focus is on the journey. And it's same in business, really, when it comes to networking, sales calls. It's just asking the right questions at the right time, giving them that shot of endomorphine in the conversation, something that gets them really excited. Like, this will be the magic trick for the podcast right now for yourself, or one of them. And making sure that you are unforgettable in that person's mind. As soon as if anyone meets me and they see my magic or pickpocketing, hypnosis, mind reading, whatever kind of performance I decide to show them, my mission by the end of that performance is, as soon as they need another entertainer or they want someone who's going to bring something very interesting to an event, who's the first person that comes to their mind? It's what everyone wants to do in business. If you're a copywriter, you want to be the first one that someone thinks about. Fitness instructor, who's you want to be as soon as anything fitness related comes up, you want to be the first one that your audience thinks about, right? You don't want to sit there and have them competing from X, Y, and Z. If you do something that makes you unforgettable, it makes everything else so much easier. That's the same with just personal interactions, business networking. It goes across all different aspects of life. Why I love teaching this kind of stuff to people.
And that was going to be my next question. So, I mean, aside from that, I'm super geeking out about this, because I have a video that I still haven't published it, but I talk about this stuff in my, in my more abstract, high level philosophical stuff about magic tricks, and then also science compared to that. And where actually business uses, when we're making sales calls, we're using an anti-scientific method. We're using the exact opposite of science. Instead of trying to disprove our hypothesis in sales, we're trying to, overcome objections, because we're creating something from new. So just philosophically speaking, I think that's really interesting. But now, if you're saying that you have thought about this stuff as well and put it into action and everything, and now you found a way to translate it from entertainment into business, into getting sales and whatnot. So, and is that something you teach or what?
Yeah, that's something I teach. One of the biggest things that we teach when it comes to personality profiling and behavior analysis stuff is reading people's body language. And that's just not reading people's visual body language. That's reading people's body language over the phone. If on a Zoom call, someone turns up, they don't have a video feed, you can't see them shrug their shoulders. You can't see me raise my eyebrows or frown or, smile or whatever. But you can still hear the rhythm, speed, volume, pitch of my voice. You can tell if my voice has gone deeper like this, or if I'm really excited, right? You can tell the difference. Even if you was to close your eyes right then, you can instantly tell the difference. And then you could go a level deeper if you really wanted to and start analyzing the words that I use. Pronouns ones are good to listen out for. If you start hearing I'm doing this, I can do that, and then the pronouns drop and you don't hear them anymore, that's a distancing technique. The person's distancing themselves from that statement. So at that point, I might sit there and be like, that's an area of sensitivity. I'm going to start thinking, what questions am I going to ask around the context, what was being said? And then if there's even more peak, and what this allows us to do, I'll teach you a technique later on. It's called baseline, and it basically essentially tells you what's the positive body language at the start of the conversation and the negative body language. It's good to know this at the start, because as soon as we go to what I call the meat of the topic we're going into, whether that be sales objections, a therapy session, networking, whatever it might be, first date, as soon as you start seeing these different reactions, you'd be like, oh, there's a positive body language there. This is a topic that we're okay to talk with. Let's go dive straight in. On the flip side, you start seeing the negative reaction around something that you've set up around the context, like, oh, why is that negative reaction happen there? And then we start doing dots to dots in our head, and we start making assumptions. And this is what we've got to be a little bit careful with when it comes to this kind of stuff. You never want to assume things, but you make assumptions in your head, and then you create questions to test these assumptions. So you can actually find out people's sales objections without actually having to get them to verbalize them. And if you don't have to get them to verbalize them, you could then come up with a plan in your head, solve the problem for them without them verbalizing it, and it feels like you're reading their flipping mind. But in actuality, it feels like a normal conversation. Like that's one of the coolest things I love about this is the baseline technique, and just being able to spot those things. The key thing is with this stuff is ego suspension, like making sure that you kind of leave your ego aside. Every human being has something, to teach everyone else, whether that be from bad experience, good experience, education. We can all learn from each other. And as soon as you go in with that kind of mentality and you start seeing these, what I call areas of sensitivity, that's when your questions become really well worded, and you start building a deeper connection with that person. And the other really cool thing about this is it also builds on a very simple principle to put the trust game on steroids, what I say to people. every human being seeks to be seen, heard, understood. Most of the conflicts happen, most people see the problem, they hear the problem, they don't actually take the time to understand the problem, which is where most conflicts happens. If you look at any kind of crazy topic in the news lately, you'll see that. And then if you want to put this on steroids, as soon as you spot these areas of sensitivity, if you take the time to make sure that that person is seen, heard, understood around the area of sensitivity, two really cool things happen. The first cool thing that happens, the trust game, is on steroids. You become like their best friend, like really, really fast. The second really cool thing is you're going to find out lots and lots of information about this person. If you can get people talking about their areas of sensitivity, you're going to find out information that will help with you in terms of the business or personal relationship going forward. It depends on, this is the cool thing about this stuff, and this is where I have to be careful who I decide to teach. I don't want to be teaching people with the wrong ethical morals, this kind of stuff. I've seen this stuff being used for the wrong stuff before, and I do not want to be associated with that anyway whatsoever. And that includes teaching evil gremlins if they exist. And sadly, I know they exist. So, you know,
I mean, I gotta tell you, I'm super geeked out about that. You basically got me sold on learning more about this. But what I would be wondering right now, you know, let's say, and I don't even know it. Maybe you have some course, or you're coaching people through this. However you teach these methods, I would think, well, doesn't that totally get me stuck in my head now? Because, and that's, you know, from my personal experience and analysis to it, there's this fine line in social interactions where you do want to think about stuff, but as soon as you think too much, then it's kind of like you're speaking not the right language, right? When you speak in a non-fluent manner with a broken accent, when you have to think about the words you choose too much, if that process is too slow, it's not conducive to a conversation. Yeah. So how much practice and everything is involved until you're really like a pro at that thing?
I mean, the thing is with the body language world, there's a lot of BS out there. Like, I was scrolling through Instagram the other day because I'm actually working on my Instagram profile I do a lot of skipping. I do a lot of body language lessons on there. You know, there's magic reels that look really cool and stuff like that. But I've been looking at like body language hashtags recently, and I was going through some of the advice that people were giving out, and it amazes, because there's a lot of bad advice out there. Like a classic one: if you see someone with crossed arms, this is bad, right? No, like if suddenly that person's outside and it's cold, it makes sense. Like, right. So there's people, especially people who claim to be experts, they often overlook certain rules, like, you know, checking for congruence, the context of when the body language is happening, checking for clusters. You know, there's all these different things that you need to make sure to look out for. But I explain to people, like, I try and keep it simple. So you don't, like, the people I've learned from, they're from the high stakes interrogation and interviewing techniques. Like Chase uses ex-FBI negotiator. Paul Gutteridge from the Power Academy used to have some insane stories from the coaching calls that I was able to join with the Power Academy when they were there. But I don't have to deal with those people. I don't have to deal with murderers. I don't have to deal with, you know, anti-terrorism, you know, the people I call the crazies, basically. I've basically been taking these techniques and going to fun events like weddings, parties, corporate events, doing mind reading tricks and practicing these body language techniques in a much safer environment. And the thing is, because we're not dealing with the crazies, like 20% of these techniques work for 80% of the people. And the likely chances, the 20% it doesn't work on, are the crazies. And we don't want to be doing business with them anyway. So you're not going to need to know the high-end techniques to sit there and deal with those. So like I said, I keep it simple. You know, some things I look out for, like visual body language, is head, shoulders, hands, feet. If you remember head, shoulders, knees and toes, if you remember that nursery rhyme, very easy to remember. But head tilts are a really good one to look out for. Shoulders, you'll see this with everyone now because so many people do this, but you will often see this single shoulder shrug. You know, and you can do this as well, and just your listeners, just watch out if people do this. Hands are a fun one to look out for, mainly because I mean, if I was to step back, I'm kind of attached to something here because my microphone broke earlier today. But when I'm talking about something I'm very happy about, you will often see very fluid movement. If you ask me anything about my finances in January, and I've just seen myself on the screen now, I'm already doing it, but my hands have already gone to like this staccato emotion. You know, simple things like that. You don't have to sit there and overcomplicate it. You're just looking for differences. And I think that kind of leads nicely into just kind of explaining what baselining is. I think that would be probably the best thing to explain right now, and exactly how to do it. Baselining, like I said earlier on, is just basically getting someone to show their positive and negative body language. And it's so diabolically simple to do. It's unfair. 2 questions, that's all it is. So I'll meet you the first one, Oliver. Has there been anything today you've really enjoyed doing?
I mean, aside from this call, yeah, I've had a good day. It's been a good start in the day, good start in the week. Did a lot of productive things, got stuff done.
What do you mean? But anything particular that you got done? You said productive things. I feel like there's something there that you've really happy about. You got out of the way.
Yeah, I drafted up some contracts to finalize the agreements with my co-founders, and making me excited because the company that I'm building is really coming together. It's becoming a team and everything. So it's becoming real.
Yeah, that's exciting times. So I hate to do this, I'm enjoying this, but has there been anything that might have been bothering you or maybe like nagging at you, like maybe over the weekend?
Lots. I'm not sure how much of that I want to share privately, but publicly. But yeah, I mean, financially speaking, it's difficult. I'm also kind of struggling with my own personal relationships, as I'm having everything invested in this business. It's not, I don't have much of a life right now. And that's not always an easy situation to be in.
Yeah, that's it. And I'll do a little time out there. Just I don't want to dive too deep into the responses there, but you'll be able to watch this replay back. I don't know if any of your listeners are listening to this right now, but first question, very perky, rhythm was all there, excited about the signing the agreement to get things moving forward, right? And then I threw that other question in. I added the soft language in there just to make it super sexy, but essentially, tell me something that was bad this weekend, right? And straight away, pitch went down, rhythm completely changed. I don't know if I really want to get into that. That like strain of the throat right there. And then I did the little timeout. Normally at the timeout, I might ask certain questions around the things that you might have brought up around. If I was to sit there and be, areas of sensitivity that I picked up on there, finances, personal relationships, possibly a girlfriend or a close relationship of something like that nature, right? If I was to sit there and I'm kind of showing off a little bit right now. I wouldn't normally do it like this in a conversation, but I just want to kind of show the principles of how they work right now. But then going forward here, depending let's say we're doing this in a sales environment and you want to sit there and that my stuff is human to human communication, right? There's 2 ways I could go down right now. I could sit there and be like, oh yeah, the Sherlock Bond scan system is going to sit there, make you lots and lots of money and sort your finances out. Wouldn't normally go down that route personally, but just to kind of show you how we could do this. Or we could go down the other option, which is probably something that I would be more inclined to do if this was a sales call situation. I'm just being honest with you. And that is, oh yeah, the human-to-human communication sort of things here. We could work out some here, maybe sit there and work out some conflicts in value drivers with you and your personal relationships, see if we can work out from there. Suddenly we're not sitting there trying to pitch the products using logic. I've gone straight for the emotional stuff, which really is unfair if you think about it. But at the same time, this is why the ethics is so important to me. It's not what I'm about using this purely for sales. It's just the tagline for the business is teaching people unlimited confidence, no matter what you do, because confidence is very misunderstood. Teaching you guys how to attune yourself to how others feel and think for building trust, which is what I've just showed off right here. And also how to ethically influence others for more win-win outcomes in our personal and business life. Win-win being the key 2 words there. So yeah, do you have any questions about that, Oliver? Like I said, those two questions there. Ask you and your listeners, ask everyone these damn questions. They're so fun. Kids are great with this as well. They give the best reactions. Just tell me something that you enjoyed about your day. Was there anything that made you sad? And you'll see that just, you don't have to sit there and be fancy like I'm being with the questions at the minute. Just listen and watch, and you'll start to see that, you know, the shoulder shrugs, the head tilts, the eyes going different ways for positive and negative stuff. It's crazy. And the more you do it, you master one key thing to look out for, and then you just kind of replace that with another thing to look out for. So for me at the minute, one of the things that because I'm always working on this stuff, is something called GHT. I can't remember what it stands for, but I can explain what it is. It's where the eyes go left or right. Essentially, your eyes will either look left one way for positive emotions, then another way for negative. Don't worry about all this diagonal stuff with NLP. It's BS. Just positive, negative. I know if you ask me anything that I'm enjoying, I will look this way. You ask me anything that I'm, you know, a little bit sensitive about, like my finances in January, I'll look this way.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll watch for that, especially myself. It's funny to observe yourself in video and then notice that. I do notice myself kind of looking up, kind of thinking a lot of times, which I've noticed before too, just, you know, analyzing that stuff. And it's interesting how you say it. You basically, so you come up with one fairly simple technique, and then you kind of practice that technique until you've mastered it, and then you move on to the next one. And that's kind of how you build your repertoire, right? Because earlier I was asking, how long is it going to take to master this? But it sounds like you have a step-by-step process in place for it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a process that I teach people to really make this quick and rapid. Like I try, like the course, the Sherlock Bond scan system, the subtitles called Teaching You How to Read People Like Sherlock Holmes with the Social Skills of James Bond.
I love it. Sounds great.
So much fun. But you know, we've got different training wheels how to do this. And the thing is, we do this every day anyway. It's just by suddenly just actively thinking about it, just by focusing on one, you know, just focus on 1-2 things right there. Listening for GHT and watching for shoulder shrugs is more than enough to get you guys started. If you want to get a little bit fancy with it, maybe start looking at hand digits, head tilts and stuff like that. And the great thing is, I said at the beginning that there's a lot of BS out there on the subject of body language. It's a gray area. I wouldn't say it's all BS. I just think, like a lot of things with human beings, we like to overcomplicate things. So I like to make things super simple, because in practice, when this happens in real life, it's going to happen so quick. You're not going to be able to go through a table and make notes. Oh, this shoulder shrug happened at this moment here. You want something quick and with simple steps, because in my mentors' fields where they are in the high stakes environment, they've got to do this under high stress. Same with martial arts. You don't sit there and learn 15 complicated movements to get out of a body lock, or, you know, to prevent yourself getting body slammed by someone who's like 200 pounds or whatever. You want 2-3 techniques that you can remember in a high stress situation to get yourself out of that situation. And it's the same stuff when it comes to reading people's body language. You don't want to miss the important things that people say.
That makes sense. Yeah. Wow. Good stuff, dude. This has been so valuable. Everything you shared here and all. Do you have like a way for people to follow up with you or to see more of your content? Something we can drop in the links below?
Yeah, if you guys want to check me out, my Instagram page is the 1GCM. So that's THE, the number 1 GCM, stands for the One Glorified Con Man. You can also get me on LinkedIn. It's Greg Holroyd. Facebook, Greg Holroyd as well. I've got a YouTube channel, but I'm not very active on there. I'm planning to do something with that, maybe either skipping related in future. Just currently doing a lot of jump rope stuff. If anyone goes to my Instagram channel, you'll see that I do lots of fancy skipping stuff and lots of whipping myself in the back of the head today as well. I did a session just before I came on this podcast, constantly whipping myself in the back of the head. And then, of course, I've got 2 websites. Anyone who's interested, looking for an entertainer, I do both live and virtual magic. So even if we're not in the same country and you've got a virtual party happening, you can book my services at GH Magic, and that website is www.gregholroyd.co.uk. And then for all the personality and behavior coaching, that's magicspeaker.co.uk. And we do have a new online school launching called the Magic Speaker Academy. And that's going to be at magicspeaker.gurucan.com. And there's going to be lots of exciting things like a phone app so you can access all the lessons. I'm super excited about the Magic Speaker Academy. We're currently just finishing the 3rd course at the minute with another 2 in the works, but I don't want to share too much about that yet because don't want to put my foot in my mouth. I'm very excited about the 2 new courses, put it that way.
Man, like I said, it sounds really excited. I'm geeking out about it. I'm definitely going to be at least following. I'll look into your programs, what they are. It's really an interesting area of research for me personally, and it sounds fun and exciting. I really appreciate the things you shared with us today. That was super
it's been awesome.
insightful.
We should do this again, man. This has been fun. This has been fun. Keep in touch. And yeah, we should 100% do this again. I've had a blast. And if there's anything I can do to help your business out, Oliver, as well, please, guys, check this guy out. He's a super cool guy. Actually, this is like technically the first time we've been in call before, really. Like people are like this podcast right here. Like you guys could replay this back, and this is exactly how I meet people for the first time and use these techniques. So that's what I think is really cool. Normally, I do like a little bit of an interview with podcasters before we jump on a call, which this is, thinking about it now, has brought up a really cool opportunity of like actually seeing these techniques being used. So I'm going to be looking forward going back and watching this replay and seeing what sneaky stuff I put in there without even realizing. Maybe we can expand on it in another podcast. Who knows?
So, sounds great. Yeah, we'll definitely be in touch. And yeah, it was great getting to know you, hearing about what you do and everything. And thanks so much for sharing and coming on the show and sharing with us your wisdom and your solutions and your expertise. Really appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having me, man. It's this, like I said, this has been so much fun, and I hope you and all your listeners have an awesome day.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Take care now.